Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be discussing my results and how my tournament experience went for Peak of the Beak 8. This is my first online Dueling Book Edison tournament, like of a higher player base. I believe it was 109 players total, but I took Kristyasworn, and I wanted to just go through and talk about my matches, talk about the day, see about how I played, how I misplayed, if anything. And yeah, moving forward with the channel, I want to do videos with Dueling Book gameplay, but I want to do it with a purpose. I don't want to just, here's me playing on the ladder for a few games, enjoy. I want to have some kind of a purpose built around it. So that's the whole point of the first 5 series that I started with Kristyasworn for episode 1, where I take a new deck, or I take a deck that is old but I haven't played in a while with new innovations to it, and I just showcase unedited, unfiltered, here's 5 games played of it. That being said, that isn't the only thing I want to do, and showing tournament reports and tournament runs, that is another effective way of showing off Dueling Book gameplay and being able to discuss and learn from the plays made and different matchup stuff without just grinding on the ladder. So in this video, we're going to talk about all 5 matches I played. I did go X3 drop. Not my best showing, but that being said, there wasn't a lot of games where I felt like I threw away the win or a misplay led to me losing. It was a lot of my opponent played well and had cards to counter my situation that I was in. With the exception of one match, but we'll get into that when we get there. But yeah, just for here, let me switch the scene. This is the deck that I played. If you want to hear more about this deck list, go watch my interview with ProStorm, or look for ProStorm, YCS Niagara, Kristyasworn. There's a deck profile on another channel. I forget who did it, but this is not my list. I take no credit for it. I didn't have time to play this deck enough where I felt comfortable making changes to it. So I said, you know what? I like how this list is constructed, how it's looking. I'm going to play it as is, and all things considered, it played very well. The list was awesome. I drew well with it. I did miss some defensive options at times, which I should be used to with the way I play Amaryllis, but in this deck, I felt like at times I was just struggling to combat pushes by my opponent, but hard to say. It was one small sample size. I've played 10 matches with the deck, so all things considered, really fun and really enjoyed my first experience. Again, I am new to playing in online tournaments, new to playing Dueling Book, and like the experience of playing on Dueling Book versus IRL for me, I make a lot more misplays online. I don't catch things. I'm a very focused player when I play in person, and it's just hard for me to play in these online environments. So a lot of people commented on my first 5 video with Kristyasworn saying like, your opponent did this, how'd you miss it, or you missed this player, like you should know this ruling, and all valid, all agree. And I love that those comments are there. They're there to help me get better. They're there to help others get better and understand things. If I make mistakes, I want to be corrected, but I am hoping that the more tournaments I play in, the more of those first 5 videos I do and record, I will iron out some of those like things that differentiate my play between in-person versus online. So bear with me with those. I appreciate the comments. Anytime you say, hey, this is a thing you missed or got wrong, please let me know. But today it felt really good. I feel like I played well. I feel like there was no misplays. Times where my opponent did something illegal, I caught it and we were able to correct and rewind appropriately. But yeah, let's just get into it with our first round against Blackwings. All right, starting off here with round 1, we played against Spore, who was on Blackwings. Really tough opening hand, and I remember this match very well, but very unfortunate draws in game 1 to say the least. My opponent starts off with a lure. I see the Bora, so I know he's on Blackwings. I go Raikou set. I debated between summoning the Lila and trying to pop a back row. I ended up making the right call, but it was just kind of a 50-50 of set Raikou or summon Lila. Trying to get damage in or bait a bottomless versus just let my opponent, you know, make a push. Ended up being 2 draw traps, so I'm glad I set the Raikou here. Doesn't really end up mattering in this one. Opponent goes Whirlwind, Sirocco into Gale, ends up making a Dark End here to send my Raikou, which is a pretty good play. Now they end up setting 2 more. I go to hit the Whirlwind. They do have the bottomless now though, which is unfortunate. They draw again. As you can see here, my hand isn't really doing a whole lot. I do have a card trooper, but like I can't really out this Dark End Dragon. There's not much I can really do there. So I try to get in, hit the Vayu, all good here. Opponent MSDs my back row. I chain Threatening Roar. They send my trooper, which is unfortunate. And I draw the 3rd wolf, so I have to go set Necro and pass. I am going to stand by the 3 wolves. I told ProStorm I really like this approach to the deck build. I don't find this that bricky because I come from playing Amaryllis, where you have a higher ceiling of brick potential, I guess you could say. But it is unfortunate. Anytime you draw 3 of the same card, you're gonna have diminishing value in Edison format anyways. Within, like, you know, most cards, typically you don't need 3 of them. So this is just bad luck, however way you see it. Opening a wolf or 2 is always going to be bad, but seeing all 3 is just, it's not a likely scenario. So this is just kind of some bad luck. I sit here and I play it out. I'm not entirely sure why, but you'll see I end up drawing a Celestia for turn, and that's just game. So we go to game 2. Unfortunate start, and I'm not feeling too good because you have to remember too, this is my mindset of, I went to YCS Niagara, had the worst tournament showing for myself ever. So bricking that hard in game 1, it would have been easy to be mentally on edge and kind of mentally tilted. But I said, you know what? No, we're going to come back. Black Wings, it's a good matchup for me. My side deck is very aggressive towards them. You can see I have the bottomless now. My opening hand. I go Raikou bottomless. Bottomless, hit the Shura. I end up drawing into a recharge play with Wolf, and I set Beckoning Light. This is one thing that I did learn over the course of the tournament, and I'm realizing now is one of the things I need to improve when playing Kristyasworn specifically, or I guess this will go for any Lightsworn variant that plays Beckoning Light. I am too quick to activate to set Beckoning Light. There was no reason for me to activate it here. I have Honest in hand, I have a Raikou set, I've got Judgment in hand, but it's not like I'm that close to getting 4 names engraved. Like, there's no reason for me to set the Beckoning there. I'm not activating it. I have Heavy Storm in hand. My opponent does have the Heavy, which is unfortunate, but it's like, even still, they could have had MST. They could have had a variety of different ways to hit my Beckoning Light, and there was just no reason to set it at that point. So one thing I've realized is I need to get better at timing when I set this, because I'd rather lose it when I absolutely need it to go off versus throwing it away early and then not knowing if it would have come up. So one thing to take away from this game for sure. It doesn't end up mattering, but it is something to note. So I end up Raikou. My mills aren't great. I summon Lila here because I have the Honest, and I want to get my mills going because I do have the JD. You can see I'm on 3 names, which is good, but not much I can do. Honest, thankfully, protects my Lila, and I'm able to go for a Celestia play. I do this because I have the Heavy Storm. There's no back row right now. There's no normal summon that outs this right now unless they oh, sorry, hit the mic there, but there's no specific out other than normal summon Sirocco, special summon Bora, or Gale. So I'm like, if I clear this, that's good. And then even if they are able to clear the Celestia, it'll put me on my 4th name. So I'm like, I'm just going to commit to it, clear the Sirocco, because otherwise I don't have an out to Sirocco. And if I just go summon Consecrated and pass, gives them a chance to kind of draw into something. So I do the Celestia, I mill, I don't hit a 4th name, which is unfortunate. So we just have to pass. My opponent goes T-set. I heavy the back row because I'm worried about Judgment. I'm worried about, I don't know, like, it could have been anything, but I'm like, I have the Consecrate. I just want to make sure it sticks. So I just heavy, clear the bottomless. I attack over the Vayu, and we proceed. My opponent has the Raikou. So this is another thing. I am very aware that Blackwing decks are now siding light monsters, either a Raikou, or I've even seen like Banisher of the Radiance as a counter to Consecrated light decks. Any deck that can summon this, because Consecrated puts in work in this tournament for me. I ended up playing against 4 Blackwing decks and 1 Vayu deck, so Consecrated came in 4 of the 5 matches today, and it is something to note if you are playing Consecrated Light, and I knew this from playing Amaryllis, but Blackwing decks are now siding Raikous and stuff, so you got to be aware of that. So he mills, I set Decree. My opponent goes for an Armed Wing play, and this is okay because, yeah, he colludes, he kills it, but now I have my 4th name and my Judgment Dragon's live, and I also have Decree. So I shotgun the Decree. It didn't matter because I ended up drawing into Cold Wave anyways, but even if this Dust Shoot was anything else, it wasn't going to be able to go off. So I Judgment, and we win game 2. So going into game 3 here, and I'm going second, obviously, which isn't ideal, and this hand is not the best, but my opponent just goes set 1 pass, and it's actually just a Nicaris attack, so not too sure. I feel like bluffing Gores there might have been better, but I also maybe he's wondering if I'm going to commit to anything, but not too sure what he's doing. But I go Card Trooper, I mill, I set Bottomless, and I set Decree. He Shuras, I Bottomless. He Icarises, I Decree. So I'm in a pretty good spot here. I mill one off of Wolf, and this is the beauty of playing multiple Wolves because I got him for 1900. My opponent's at 61 right now. I Card Trooper, mill 3 again, so that's 6 mills off of Card Trooper. I hit a Wolf. I fast forward here, I hit Charge the Light Brigade, boom, second Wolf. I now get to search, but it doesn't really matter because they don't have Gores, and I have exact lethal on board because I already attacked a Card Trooper the turn before. So I end up winning that one. It was a very quick match. Game 2 was a bit back and forth, but game 1 and 3, like just absolute tear. Decree is a house against this. I know it didn't come up here, but you can see they do have a lot of darks in their hand. But yeah, really happy with how I was able to overcome that really bricky opening hand and just compose myself and play a really good game 2 and 3. So on to the next one. All right, getting into match 2 of the day. We won our first match against Blackwings. Now we are playing against the only non-Blackwing deck of the day, the Vayu Turbo player. Easy to slay you. This is the match that I have the one egregious misplay that in the moment I knew I made it. I knew what the right play was. I was telling myself what the right play was. We'll get into it when we get there, but this is the match where I do have that one egregious misplay. Not the best hand, I believe. I am going first. Thankfully I do draw a normal summon, but also it's like none of these cards are really like proactive. So I go Sark for the recharge because I have double Wolf. It's the best value card to go for. My opponent's Card Trooper. Based on the mills, I'm assuming it's Vayu Turbo at this point. But I don't really have a good play. So I summon the Arcus here because Arcus is unaffected by D Prison. And it gets under Bottomless. So if this is a Bottomless or a D Prison, I'm able to clear the Card Trooper and get some mills. Unfortunately, it's torrential, kind of sucks, but Arcus, one thing I've learned from this tournament is Arcus is such an undervalued Lightsworn card, maybe just to me as someone who hasn't played the deck enough. I am realizing just how strong this card can be, and like I would even consider possibly like bumping it up to a second copy or side decking one copy for matchups where your opponent plays like D Prisons and stuff, because it's just fantastic. But anyway, so we get torrential, my opponent gets the draw, I set the Roar just to buy some time. Heavies, it's okay. He goes Armageddon Knight, sends a Necroguard, none passes. He has a Bottomless set. I go for recharge, and here I get hit with the Bottomless on Garroth, and now I just set the Beckoning Light. Again, not really a reason to set the Beckoning Light here. That's the thing I talked about in match 1. Like, could it come up soon? Yes, but I would rather just hold it. Mind you, my opponent did Heavy Storm, so it's unlikely that it's in danger, but like, I'm playing against Vayu. They have Raikou. They have MST potentially, like there's ways to out it, so like just setting it ahead of time isn't the best. Here I go for Lumina into Lila because I need to clear this back row. If it's a Bottomless, I clear it, whatever. And I have Honest to protect Lumina in the following turn, so I go for the Lila, lucky snipe on a Mirror Force, end up hitting a Wolf, which is fantastic, but my opponent has Gale and gets to go for Black Rose. This is a situation where, did I set Beckoning Light early? Yes. Did it end up paying off? Also yes, just because here I'm able to basically like exchange the Wolf in hand for a Herald, which is pretty good value, honestly. So I go for the Beckoning Light here, add back Honest, add back Orange Light, and then I also add Jane, actually. I forgot I added Jane just because it's a good normal summon into Vayu. 1800 is a pretty good beater. Draw second Honest for turn, so this is pretty good. My opponent Necroguard knows I mill 2, nothing too good. I summon Card Trooper and my opponent goes Judgment on it. Pays 4k to stop the Card Trooper, which tells me that this back row is nothing. This is dead. And it tells me that their hand isn't great. They do have Brain Control in hand though, and they do have Dark Arm Dragon, and Dark Arm Dragon is also live. So they Judgment it just to stop damage and then put me in a position for a game shot. I'm feeling okay in this position because they're at 2200. I've got Honest, I got Herald with another Fairy, so I'm able to protect. Unfortunately, this is a game that I don't think I did anything wrong. My opponent had Dark Armed and Brain Control, and that's going to happen. And can it be frustrating? Yes, but all things considered, I would rather lose this way 10 times out of 10 versus losing because I just completely made the wrong play and it's a boneheaded move. So my opponent goes Dark Armed, steals a Brain Con, summons Plague Spreader, makes a Goyo. I have the Necroguard to protect, but my opponent doesn't need to use monster effects, so I can't clear anything, and I draw a Dead Solar Recharge. So end up losing game 1 that way. Frustrating, but all things considered, you can't be too mad. Solar Recharge here. I have a Lila, I have a Bottomless to protect. My opponent does unfortunately have the Heavy Storm yet again. So they're able to clear my Lila by getting Grepher and Armed Wing down. Is what it is, but you know, it's gonna happen. So I take a bunch of damage. My opponent has 2 back row, and I go Arcus here, and we're getting to the big mess play that leads to me losing this game and technically also the match. I summon Arcus because I have an Honest and I have a Threatening Roar. I have 2 ways to protect this Arcus. Arcus gets under Bottomless, it gets under Deep Prison, stuff like that, whatever. It's all good. I'm sitting here, I have a Space Typhoon and I have a Judgment Dragon. I could have tried to Space Typhoon a back row because after this turn, let me rephrase. After this turn, Arcus milled, I now have 4 names engraved. So next turn I'm thinking, okay, I need to try and Judgment Dragon, but also my opponent has 2 back row. I need Judgment Dragon to not only be summoned, but I need it to stick on board. Because if it doesn't stick on board, I don't really have a normal summon or anything I can use alongside it. So we go to my opponent's turn. They go charge. Mills aren't great, but they search a Raikou. Let me just fast forward here. My opponent, they have Armageddon Knight that they drew for turn. They send Plague Spreader. They stack the Raikou, and they make a Goyo Guardian here. So I Threatening Roar because I want to keep the Honest in hand. I realize I might as well just Threatening Roar because it's more susceptible to interruption than the Honest. Just do the Threatening Roar, get it off the field, get it out of the way, protect myself for a turn. I draw for turn. It's Royal Decree. Literally the perfect draw. I play 1 Royal Decree in the side deck. This is the perfect draw because unless he has a Solemn Judgment back here, this Decree is going off. I know he's top decking Raikou for turn, but it's not going to be able to pop the Decree in advance of when I can drop my Judgment Dragon. I'm looking at this hand. All I have to do, especially because Arcus is going to live another turn because I have Honest. Again, Judgment is the only thing that really messes with me here. He has 2 back row, and I debate if I should MST anything to try and hit an MST if he has one. I end up deciding I don't have to because I had the Threatening Roar set and he didn't try to MST me beforehand. So I'm like, okay, just set the MST, set the Royal Decree. I know what the right play is. I pass. They attack on their turn. Arcus protected with Honest. I'm good. On the following turn, I summon Judgment Dragon. If they try to Bottomless or Torrential or anything, as long as they don't have Judgment back there, I can flip up Royal Decree and I will be able to blow up the board and keep my Judgment Dragon. Then who knows? Obviously, he's at 8,000 life points. Hard to say if I'm going to win off of just that play. Based on the next couple draws, I'm pretty sure I would have. But I'm sitting here like, I wish I had a video on me at the time of playing this match because I'm saying that to myself out loud. Set MST, set Decree. I go main phase 1, set MST, pass. Like why? Like, I just don't know. Like, I cannot sit here and explain what was going through my head when I did this. As soon as I clicked end turn, I just went, what am I doing? Like, I was like dumbfounded with myself. Like, I wanted to like quit everything. Like, it was just insane. So because of this, I end up losing this game. Because if we fast forward here, I mill, my opponent goes to attack Arcus. Like I said, I have Honest, kill the Goyo Guardian, go to my turn. I'm now in a situation where I have to MST this back row, hope that I hit a Bottomless Trapple or a Torrential or whatever's back there, because I can no longer set Decree and pass because Raikou can't target Lightsworns. It would target the 1 Decree. So I'm like, I have to summon Judgment Dragon. I have to 50-50 snipe the Bottomless if there is one, or the Torrential or whatever there is back there. I hit the middle. I lost the 50-50. There was a Bottomless. So did I lose a 50-50? Yes. Should I have been in a position where the 50-50 mattered? Absolutely not. So this is the biggest misplay I could have possibly made. I now commit to the Judgment Dragon because I kind of have to. I don't have a choice. It gets Bottomless. I wipe the board. I'm not in the worst position because I do have a Decree. My opponent's on a top deck. I have at least got Honest and Herald. So I poke in for some damage. You know, attack for 11. My opponent does draw a normal summon for turn. They send Vayu. Now they're going to get some pretty big damage in. They have an Armor Master and an Armageddon Knight. I draw Raikou for turn. My opponent goes Caius. I have to Herald this, otherwise I lose. Raikou, pop. Again, we're nullified, we're one card to one card, but all he needs is a top deck monster, like a normal summon, and I'm gonna lose this. This deck, or this game ends up playing out a couple more turns, but inevitably I lose, and it's because of not setting Decree when I knew I had to set Decree. So, lesson learned. These are the things I'm trying to iron out as I play in more dueling book environments, more tournaments, more first 5 testing videos, stuff like that, because that's a play I never would have messed up in person. I did it here. It's 100% on me to not make that misplay. So probably the only egregious thing, like I'm sure there's like misplays or like plays that were suboptimal in my future matches in this tournament, but that is the one where I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I threw away a game, potentially. Again, it was early enough. My opponent had AK. There's no guarantee I win. It's only game 2. There's no guarantee I come back and even win the match. But that being said, I threw away a chance at winning this game, and it's 100% on me, and I need to move on and be better next time. So lesson learned. We're 1-1 at this point. Round 3, yet another Black Wings, and for the rest of this tournament, just Black Wings. All right, so getting into match 3 here, we're playing against Hakan 21. This is another Blackwing matchup. Opening hand, pretty good. I did win rock, paper, scissors here. I'm pretty sure I was 3-2. You guys will see the replays, but I'm pretty sure I was 3-2 on RPS wins for the day, but opening hand, not too bad. I just have a lot of good stuff going on. I end up going Lila Pass because I want to get some preemptive mills going. I don't know what my opponent's on. I end up hitting a wolf, which is just very lucky, but my reason for doing this is I have an orange light with a fairy to stop any monster plays. I also do have Foolish Burial with a Celestia for the crackback, so if Lila sticks, great, but even if it doesn't, I have many different things I can do in the coming turns. My opponent summons a Sirocco, beats over the Lila, no big deal, sets one back row. I cold wave here. My reason being is that if I just go Celestia, summon, try and target 2, and there's like a bottomless or something, I'm not in a great spot. I'm just leaving myself open and exposed. Yes, I do have the Foolish and the Celestia, but then I lose my orange light play. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to cold wave. That way, at least I know the Celestia is going to stick, because now I'm getting a nice 2-for-1 because that wolf was completely free. And because it's Black Wings, they can't Whirlwind on their turn. They can't set an Icarus attack. So like I'm in a really good spot because there is no normal summon that outs Celestia in their deck. So they need to have a normal summon and a Kalute. And if you look at their hand, it's 1, 2, 3 traps and brain control. So it's like you can't really do anything in this situation. I get lucky, I mill another wolf off Celestia, and I hit a Necrogardener. So the mills in this game were just insane. That match literally took a minute and a half. Like, it was insane. Sometimes you get lucky when you play 3 wolves. I did. And Cold Wave's a crazy card. Honestly, like, every time I activate Cold Wave, I'm just like, I need to find more decks to play this in, because being able to completely not only make sure your plays go through, but like in that instance with the Black Wings, like, you're not able to make any progress next turn. Like, that's just insane value. So going second, game 2, I do have Consecrated Light. The problem with this is that Consecrated Light into Black Wings is very good in when you're going first, because you have so many other good normal summons. Being able to summon Consecrated Light into an empty field versus into a field that's established or has an Icarus attack or something already is tough. Now, as you saw in, I believe, round 1, Blackwing players are side decking Raikou now. And if it's not Raikou, it's another light, like a Banisher of the Radiance is something I know a couple people have been trying. It's to counteract the Consecrated Light decks, any deck that can side deck. So this, Amaryllis, Fairies. Blackwings normally doesn't have an answer to it, so they're siding in these light monsters to try and get some advantage, and Raikou makes sense. I read that there's a Raikou here, so I go for the Card Trooper play, because at least now, if he pops it, I get the draw. So he goes, his mills are obviously bad, because the deck is in a mill deck. I set a Beckoning Light. Again, I need to not be doing this, but also my hand had 6 cards. I'm bluffing something, I guess. I probably shouldn't have done that. I do have good targets, but I don't have enough. I only have 2, so... My opponent goes MST, so I baited an MST, and I still have another Beckoning Light, so no harm done, but it is what it is. My opponent here goes for an Armed Wing, and I'm like, okay, good. They didn't make Brio, they didn't make Goyo, so my Consecrated Light is going to stick. My opponent goes Deck Devastation. Unfortunate. Hits both Consecrated. hits my Arcus. I do a Beckoning Light, but then my opponent has Dark Armed and they have a Lila, which this I was not expecting, but I have Heavy Storm, draw for turn. I can't really do much here. I Garroth attack over it, but I'm going to be losing here. I do play it out a bit because honestly, no reason to. I was going to lose this, but I add back Herald and Consecrated, but he can just attack over. Oh, I think my reasoning is that I'm going to force him to attack, so if he doesn't have another normal summon, which in this instance he didn't, he would have only been able to attack because then he knows he can't Dark Armed, use his effect, whatever. But it didn't end up mattering because he plays Fisher. I'm not sure why he's playing Fisher, but plays Fisher, goes for game. So it is what it is. Game 3, this is probably my favorite game of the day. It's completely unfair in my advantage. Opening hand, very good. Black Wings, I'm going first. I get Consecrated Light. I also have Honest in hand for future use, but I go Consecrated Pass because it's the best counter to Black Wings, honestly, outside of Consecrated with a Decree backing it up. And my opponent T-sets. If Blackwing T-sets, it's obviously an Icarus or a Vayu, or they're just bluffing that they have an Icarus and a Vayu. Like, this is the play. So normally, I'd be like, okay, I can't commit anything to the board. I draw for turn. I believe it's an Aaron, yes. So normally you wouldn't be able to commit to a board here if you're playing a different deck, but because I have Arcus in hand, I can just summon Arcus because it's not a legal target for Icarus attack. So I'm able to beat over the Vayu. Also, just to clarify, I did technically misplay there, but I, never punished. If this is randomly Mirror Force, I just threw away my Consecrated for no reason. Like if he was bluffing the Vayu T-set with the Icarus attack, but never punished. I do realize I should have switched to defense first. There was no reason to commit to that, but anyways, I clear the Vayu. My opponent doesn't really have anything they can do. So they just pass. I Solar Recharge, pitch the Jane, mill 2. I go Gold Sark, and I Gold Sark for Heavy Storm here because right now I can't lose to monsters because my opponent first off can't normal summon or set. Even if they can, I'm going to be able to attack over it because there's no high defense values on any Blackwing monster. One of them has 1200 defense. I think it's Shura, so like Arcus can't beat over that, but other than that, like there's no monster that outs my board right now in Blackwings. So I'm only scared of back row. So I Gold Sark for the Heavy Storm because I'm like, if I can survive another turn or two, then doesn't matter what back row he draws into, I can nullify it. So banish the Heavy Storm off Gold Sark, summon Garroth, try and get some draws going, try and draw into something cool. Again, there's only one legal target for Icarus attack right now on my side of the field. Garroth misses, Arcus whiffs. I Aaron, shuffle back the Vayu, so I'm not putting any darks in his grave, which is nice. Attack again with both my guys. And my mills, again, didn't hit anything. I also have a live Herald at this point too, which is nice, and an Honest, so it's pretty cool. And my opponent quits. I'm pretty sure they drew another monster for turn. Yeah, they drew Sirocco, so unbelievable combo here, Consecrated with the Arcus. Obviously, maybe with a better hand, my opponent could have done something. They do have Brain Control, and they could have Brain Controlled the Consecrated and then Tribute summoned the Sirocco. I don't know, maybe they didn't know that they could do that because you can Tribute summon Consecrated Light for a Dark Monster in Edison format. I know you can do it with a Caius and stuff, but I think they just got frustrated and left. But it is what it is, and honestly, I don't blame them. But on to the next one. All right, moving on to the fourth match of the day and my third Blackwing matchup of the day. Win the rock, paper, scissors again, which is nice. Opening hand, pretty good. Recharge with the Wolf. I got Herald, no Fairy to go with it, but I do have Arcus, I have Lumina, I have Raikou. Like I got some good cards here. I Gold Sark for heavy. This might have been a mistake. It didn't end up mattering in this one, but I don't know what my opponent's on at this point. I didn't see his replays or anything ahead of time, so Heavy Storming here, I could be playing against a deck with no back row. Might have been better served to go for something like a Judgment Dragon or just hold it, but also Gold Sark, you never want to hold. You always want to get whatever you're getting off of it as soon as possible. So I end up doing the Heavy Storm. It's Blackwing, so it in hindsight is an actual good play to make, but is what it is. one thing I noticed. I do have the Raikou here. My opponent is going to get in for some pretty good piercing damage here with Bora and Sirocco. I pop the Black Whirlwind, and my mills, just some names. So my opponent dust shoots me, hits the Lumina, not ideal, but I summon the Aaron and I pass with the Threatening Roar because I'm like, I kind of don't have much going for me. I needed to hit like a wolf there, because if I hit a wolf and then I can Threatening Roar, then next turn hit over that, but my opponent also does have the Mirror Force, so I'm kind of in a tough spot here. I don't fully understand it at the time, but Threatening Roar buys me a turn. I get Heavy Storm to my hand, and actually this is why the Heavy Storm ended up working. I'm able to Heavy Storm the Mirror Force, and then safely Celestia pop both of my opponent's monsters. So I'm in a pretty good spot here now. I don't have like a big push, like I don't have a Krystia play, I don't have a Judgment Dragon, but I haven't milled my Judgment Dragons either yet. So I get in for some good damage. My opponent goes Sirocco, Gale, Brain Control. Again, I think I played very well this whole match. It was very linear, but like I didn't miss the obvious play at any point. My opponent had the normal summon Sirocco, had the special summon Gale, and had the Brain Control to ensure game. So my opponent does all that, and we scoop it up and go to the next one. So I can't be mad about that. Again, Brain Control, I think it is the best card in Edison format because of stuff like that. Mind you, I'm not in a good position regardless because they had Sirocco and Gale without searching either of them. Did he search? He might have searched the Gale off. No, he searched the Bora off the Whirlwind turn 1. But point is it's unfortunate he had those 3 cards. It's going to happen, but it's one of those duels where, again, I think I mentioned it before in this video. If not, I have in tons of other videos. I would rather lose that way 10 out of 10 times versus lose because I misplayed egregiously like I did with not setting Royal Decree in the Vayu Turbo match earlier. So it's okay. It's unfortunate, but this game, my hand's not bad. Like, I have Aaron, I have the Book of Moon, which is really good in the Black Wings if they have the Whirlwind and a normal summon. And then if I am able to Book of Moon their normal summon, being able to shuffle with Aaron's good. The double Beckoning Light is unfortunate. You have to play 3 because you have to see it, and you can't risk milling all of your copies. Seeing it in multiples does kind of suck, I'm not going to lie. But I have Heavy Storm, got the book, got a JD if I can get some mills going, and like, I already have 3 names engraved, and if they kill this Aaron, things are good. But unfortunately they do have the Heavy Storm, they heavy my book. They're going to be able to make a synchro play here because Shura is going to summon out a Vayu, getting for some damage. My Judgment Dragon is live, which is nice. My opponent tries to just make Stardust here. I tell them no, you can't do that, so they make Armor Master first, then they make the Stardust. I Heavy Storm them. So here's the thing, I was debating, so like they ended up having Dust Tornado and a D Prison and the Stardust, and I have double Judgment Dragon in hand. And my thought process is, if I go summon Judgment Dragon, this is what I should have done in hindsight. Again, hindsight, because I'm like, if they have a bottomless or something, this isn't going to play out well anyways. So if I don't Heavy Storm and I just try to summon Judgment Dragon there, I summon the Judgment Dragon, there's no bottomless, there's no Trenchel. Awesome. I can't Judgment Dragon effect because then they're going to Stardust me anyways. So I'm like, okay, I should Heavy Storm first to clear the Stardust. That way I can play Judgment Dragon into the back row, right? Well, this was kind of a weird decision point because like if I Judgment Dragon and then try to attack the Stardust, I'm going to lose it to Dimensional Prison anyways. And then they still have their Dust Tornado, which could have mattered because I have Beckoning Lights here. So I don't know if there was actually like a correct or incorrect way to sequence this here, because if I do the Judgment Dragon route, I lose to D Prison, and if I go the Heavy Storm route, I'm going to have the Stardust still on board. So it's like there's no way to out the Stardust in this scenario unless I went special both Judgment Dragons and attack with both, but that's just an incorrect play because then you lose to Mirror Force. So that would have been an incorrect play almost 9 times out of 10. In this situation, it would have been the correct play to just summon both of them. But then again, it's like you're not using the Judgment Dragon's effect, you're just summoning 3k beaters, and that's not the point of the card. So I get in for 3,000. I set the Beckoning Light just in case it comes up, because I'm not expecting the crackback that's about to happen. My opponent gets their Stardust back, and I'm like, this is okay. They have no back row. It's just a Stardust. Judgment Dragon is Judgment Dragon. He needs to draw into something big. My opponent looks around. They drew Blizzard for turn. I'm pretty sure it was for turn, or they already had it. Regardless, they have a Blizzard play. I go Beckoning Light because I'm like, I'm going to lose to Brio here, potentially. So I need to be able to Herald to get this Stardust off field so I don't lose this turn. So I Beckoning Light. I have to pitch my other Judgment Dragon to make Herald live. Very unfortunate. So my opponent, they hum and haw for a while. They end up making the Brio. They discard one, and my thought process here is they discard. They target the Judgment Dragon. I Herald to negate the Stardust. Or I Herald to negate the Brio. They are then going to Stardust negate the Herald. So this is okay because I don't lose to damage this turn. Unfortunately, I forgot they had this. So there was no way for me to really play around that. Again, had I summoned both Judgment Dragons, I would have probably been okay, but hindsight's 2020. There's not much I can really do there. I don't think I misplayed egregiously in that match. Maybe there's little things, and if there is, let me know down in the comments so I can learn for next time, but it is kind of just an awkward situation with the Stardust and then having not the bottomless set. It was hard to mentally like decide, and what I ended up doing in that moment, I don't think it was necessarily wrong. So anyways, on to the next one. And for the final match of the tournament, my fourth and final Blackwing player, Arsalan. Pretty fun match, but obviously doesn't end up going our way. But yeah, 4 Blackwings and a Vayu. I wish I had a ladder like that at YCS Niagara, but to put that to rest, we continue on with Kristyasworn. So I get dust shooted. Unfortunate, they hit the card trooper. It is what it is. I go for the Lila, try to pop the back row. It's a draw card, kind of unfortunate, but at least I get my mills out of it. And here's where I'm like, Bora, another Blackwing. So I summon Garroth here. My reason being is I didn't want to take more damage from the Bora. Hindsight, that's probably a misplay. I should have just set the Raikou, because it's like they can't summon a Sirocco in this situation unless they like I don't know, unless they went like activate Whirlwind, tribute summon Sirocco, search Bora, summon Bora, like I don't know, like the damage that I would have taken from the Raikou wasn't worth it. I should have just popped the back row with the Raikou, and then next turn I could have summoned the Garroth and then just worry about like a Collude or something. But my opponent Heavy Storms hits my Beckoning Light again. Didn't need to set it there because there's nothing I really want in my graveyard. So that's why one of the key takeaways from this tournament was be better with setting Beckoning Light. No reason to do it in advance. But anyway, so I draw in a Soul Recharge. I recharge, pitching the Garroth. I finally set the Raikou, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I end up having to set the Raikou anyways. I should have just done it sooner, hit the bottomless, because then I would have had a Garroth in play or something like I could have done more with, right? Like, I would have been in probably a better position. I get a Wolf. I go for the Celestia play. I hit the back row. Get another Wolf. So we're kind of in a good spot right now. Hit him for some big damage. My opponent, I believe, drops Gores, and I Herald it because I don't have an out to Gores right now. I set the Beckoning Light. The reason I set the Beckoning Light here is because, honestly, I didn't need to set it there. I didn't have back row. Or I didn't have cards in hand. Like, there was nothing that I was going to add back anyways, so. And I have nothing that's going to mill or do anything here. My opponent has the Collude. They protect their Sirocco. And Brain Control again. I'm in a losing position, so I'm less mad about that one because I'm not really in a great spot, but also, like, come on, another Brain Control. Pretty unfortunate, but anyways, my opponent, or not my opponent, I start off with a charge. My mills, not great. I go Raikou set with a bottomless, which is pretty good because I'm able to stop the normal summon, stops them off doing too much with their back row. I end up going Lila. Unfortunately, my opponent does have the Torrential. I don't really blame myself for playing into it here because, like, if I flip Raikou, I'm going to 50-50 snipe. And, like, if I hit bottomless and then summon the Lila, I'm still losing my board to Torrential. So it's like, that didn't feel great. I wanted to just get him with Lila, you know, be done with it. So I end up losing both my guys there, which sucks. Aaron gets bottomless. My opponent summons a Vayu. Obviously can't bottomless a Vayu. So We move on, and my opponent here has a bottomless of their own now. So solar recharge, mills just aren't good this game. I bottomless the normal summon again, and the reason I'm not committing, or I didn't commit there, is because I was reading that this card here, the middle card, was a bottomless of their own. Or not a bottomless, an Icarus, because they had summoned the Vayu. So I'm like, if I normal summon Garroth there on the last turn, they're going to Icarus, pop my Garroth and my bottomless, and then I'm going to lose to like a normal summon Shura or something. So I misread this the whole time. I was expecting it to be the Icarus, so I don't commit for a while. Like, I finally go into the Lumina here, the Oppression. I misclicked there, ignore that. In main phase 1, I set Threatening Roar, but again, I'm kind of in a disadvantage right now. Like, I can't really do anything. I have a Herald, which Herald didn't really come up too much outside of the Gore's play in the last game, but I ended up losing that one anyway. And at this point here, like, you can see, like, I'm in such a bad position. My opponent has a draw card, a D-Prison, a Light Imprisoning Mirror, and a bottomless. I tried to play through it. I'm just trying to bait out back row at this point. So Honest loses to the D-Prison. Honestly, maybe the best play is to just set the Honest there and wait, or do nothing, activate the Threatening Roar when they summon a monster, and then if that monster is not, let's say, a Sirocco or something, or they have no way to Sirocco, but whatever it is, just try and ignore it, and then end up, what's it called? I'm losing my train of thought here. And then end up setting the Honest afterwards, because that way I don't lose to an Icarus attack again, which he didn't have. But again, I thought this was an Icarus the whole time. So, like, I should have just not summoned the Honest there. I should have just waited, Threatening Roared when I could have, and then set the Honest and just kind of played defensive. The Soul Release here ends up really hurting, because this Judgment Dragon would have been live later in the game, because I do find a way to out the Oppression eventually, but it is what it is. Soul Release is a pretty good card against me. You can't be mad that people sided against you, or that you see it when in tournaments when you're playing a deck like this. So I summon Lila. I try to hit the Oppression. My opponent bottomlesses the Lila, and then they just flip up Light Imprisoning Mirror. And that's unfortunate. That's kind of tough. My opponent brain controls the Consecrated here, which is fine because I do have Threatening Roar, and I do have another Consecrated Light, so it's all good. And I drew the third Consecrated, which is just hilarious, but my opponent now actually has double Royal Oppression on the field. I just have my Consecrated Light and a Dream. My opponent sets another back row. I don't Foolish here because, and this is actually something I messed up, I should have sided this Foolish Burial out because I sided out a number of my wolves. Foolish can still come up because, like, it can be a fourth name for Judgment, it could be a fourth fairy for Krystia. It can be a variety of things, so Foolish is good, but I feel like in the Blackwing matchup, I side so many cards that Foolish is probably better to side out versus some of the other stuff I side out. So in hindsight, I think I would have sided this out because I end up using it to make a Krystia play at some point, but there was better options. I end up setting my Orange Light because I'm like, I need to try and get a body on board to start doing some damage. So I'm like, I need to set Orange Light. I have a second one in hand. I MST, I hit the Oppression, and then I end up Foolishing here, sending a fairy because that gives me 4 fairies, so I end up getting to summon out my Krystia. I attack the Kalute, attempt to go battle. It was some confusing thing. He deprisons it, whatever. I kind of just have to try and make a play, and my opponent, unfortunately, is able to make a Magical Android, which kind of locks me out of the game. I summon the Consecrated, I Beckoning Light. I know I added Honest to hand, but, like, there's just nothing I can really do here. Like, I'm just playing it out, mostly because I know the tournament's over for me at this point. But Crash, attacks for 2k, I draw for turn, and it's a Book of Moon. So I end up losing, and that is how the tournament ends for me. Like I said, all things considered, if you look at those matches, I don't think I had too many egregious misplays beyond just the Royal Decree one, which in the moment I recognized and was upset about. But for my first dueling book experience for a big tournament like this, all things considered, very happy with it. The deck felt good. It did what it was supposed to. It was strong. I just ran into a lot of Blackwing decks, and Blackwing's one of the big 3 for a reason. It's a very strong deck. Even though you have a good matchup against it, sometimes you're going to lose to a Brain Control. You're going to lose to a Dark Arm. You're going to lose to Sirocco, Special Gale, Special Bora, stuff like that. So Takeaways, I would say that I need to be better with my beckoning lights when playing this deck. I'll probably need to learn the side patterns a bit more because, again, I was just kind of doing it on the fly here because I haven't played the deck too much. I don't really know how to evaluate certain cards in certain matchups yet. But yeah, all things considered, pretty good. I think a lot of the mental aspects of me playing on Dueling Book are just me not being used to the environment. Like, I lose focus pretty easily, I feel like, when I'm not holding cards and checking graveyards and fanning out and counting and talking to my opponent face to face. I'm just more dialed in as an in-person player, and hopefully through these online tournaments, as well as my first 5 series that I just started with Kristyasworn, I feel like I'm going to be able to hone those skills and get my online gameplay to a level that is at least in line with how I play in person, because I feel like I am a pretty good player when it comes to IRL. Obviously, 2 top 8 Ultimate Time Wizards placements, that's really good, but there's a lot of room to grow. So pretty happy with today as a whole. Wish I could have made it past 5 rounds, because again, when I play these tournaments, every round I play, you guys are going to get to see recaps on. But today we just had the 5 rounds. Pretty good showcase, I would say, and I'm looking forward to next weekend where I play in RBET online. I don't think I'm going to bring Kristyasworn. I think I'm going to play either something new, or I might work on the Amaryllis list, bring it back as a redemption arc for the poor showing I had at Niagara Falls, and yeah, we'll go from there. So look forward to some more episodes coming in the next week. Probably another first 5 of some kind, and then another tournament report as well. So until the next one, cheers. Hey there, appreciate you sticking around to the end of this video. If you liked what you just watched, please check out one of the recommended videos or playlists on screen. If you enjoy content on Edison Yu-Gi-Oh! Including deck profiles, deck building theory, meta and card discussions, as well as retro video games, I would appreciate it if you subscribed and gave this video a like. I am Chris Lindsay of No Suck Gaming. Thanks for watching.